YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be doing a review of a 4 Plus Ninjago set. This is the Final Flight of the Destiny's Bounty, which is a remake of some of the things that you might see inside of Ninjago Season 5 Possession. However, they're not meant to be accurate. This is meant to be just a fun toy to play with and to introduce new builders to the community. However, on contrary to it being meant for that, this contains a lot of things that I think older collectors may like as well, and it is a good budget solution if you don't want to buy a $200 Destiny's Bounty set. So let's start with the beginning part of the set here. This is the full build of the Destiny's Bounty. This particular build is all built, as you can see, on one giant boat piece. This means this bounty can do something that none of the other bounties that have been released to this point can do, and that is be able to float on water, which I think is important considering that Destiny's Bounty, at its core, used to be a pirate ship and therefore should be able to float on water. This build also features towards the front a unique dragon piece, which is the same piece that they used on the 4 Plus Fire Dragon set, but it's only the top of the head, and it's designed to look like the head of the bounty, which is a cool nod to the fact that the original bounty also used the same mold as the original rubber fire dragon head, but with special printing for the bounty. There's also a steering wheel here. It's not the right place for the steering wheel, but it is kind of cool to put it here because it gives more room to put figures throughout the model. On the side, you can see that there's a little chain with an anchor. This is definitely a cool feature. You can use it to have minifigures hang on to it as they're swinging into battle, or you could try and use it to take down some of the enemies in this set. It's totally up to you. And then towards the mast here, it uses the pirate mast, but in dark brown, which I believe this was a new recolor at the time for it. I haven't seen it be used in this color in a long time since, so it's a pretty cool piece to get here. And additionally, the vinyl flag piece is exclusive to this set and features a dragon print, which is very interesting to see because it's not able to transform into its flying mode. But for a ship that looks like it's meant to be used in the water, despite promotional box art saying otherwise, I think this is definitely cool for you to even get a cool printed piece like this. I could see people taking two of these and using both of them to create an actual flag that could work as a flying ship wings as well as the flag for the boat when it's in water. Moving towards the back, though, you can see that the exterior uses the golden trellis pieces. These are a very interesting choice, but they look good for windows. And additionally, you can see the tan part pokes up out of the ground, allowing access to a door. This is just a brown standard door with no actual door in the frame, but it's still pretty cool, and it gives the aesthetic that it's actually a room on the bounty. You also get these really cool sloped pieces. I'd love to see what people could do with these for mocks. And the roof of the bounty here is using 3 helicopter propeller blades, which is something that you wouldn't see used for a roof normally, but I like the effect it gives. There's also a little gap in here, but it's nothing a couple 1x8 bricks can't fix, so it's not necessarily making the set bad, just there could be some improvement if you want to modify this further. Additionally, the back of it's pretty much open, but has some sloping to it. It's all empty, but there is room in there to display and store one of the side builds in this set, so it is useful that they didn't put anything in there in that case. Finally, you can see that there's these gunmetal gray wind turbines with swords sticking out of them. These can be posed up and down, and those are like the jet thrusters on the normal bounties. They're a lot more simple here. If you want to modify them, you could, but for what they need to do here for a 4 Plus set, they did a pretty good job. Plus, it's a cool recolor to get a piece in. Now let's move on to some of the other side builds. The first side build is actually a 4 Plus portion of the City of Styx. The City of Styx was an important location in Season 5 Possession, and it's pretty neat that you actually get an entire build for it here, because the original City of Styx set was way too expensive for its own good, and there were no smaller alternatives for it until now. This features a very large blue piece, which is very hard for you to be able to break the build because of it, which is great. It always helps when you have 4 Plus pieces that are able to make it so your build is less likely to break. Additionally, you can see there's jail doors here. You could put one of the ninja in there if you really wanted. It's just something interesting that you can do for more play features in this set. This set also contains 2 lanterns posing on rocks at the corners here. They have yellow, clear cylinder insides, which make it look like they're a little bit eerie of the lanterns. But the lantern pieces themselves are actually pretty interesting because I don't know many sets that utilize this piece at all. So it's great to get this set and get 2 of them in addition to everything else you receive. Towards the front of the build, you can see there's a dock that uses some detailing with some lighter brown pieces on brown plates. And there's even a treasure trove that holds a couple of gems for you to be able to fight over if you're so inclined to say that there should be a reason for these figures to be fighting each other. Additionally, the jail cells are covered up all the way through the back, which they didn't have to do, but it looks cool, and it gives you more pieces that might be used in your own builds if you really wanted them for customs. Additionally, just like the bounty, there's a lot of room to display figures, so you can easily play with the figures you get in this set on here as well as on the bounty. So it's great to see this. And there's also a little stud up here, which comes into the next mini build that we'll be taking a look at. And that is this dragon build. This is a smaller version of Morrow's Ghost Dragon, which was another humongous, it probably cost way too much for most people back when it came out. But this is a smaller version of it. It uses the propeller blade on the tail, a very cool printed piece on the head that's exclusive to the set. And there is a way to make the dragon's wings flap by pressing down on this ghost symbol in the middle, which is really cool. Just adds some more desirable features to use in this set. There's also room on the back of this dragon to place a minifigure, but it's not made for the ghost minifigure, surprisingly, so I'm assuming this is to add things from your own collection to this build. The dragon head can be articulated up and down, just like the tail, and it's built on a very small body, so it's pretty compact. But why this dragon is special is because there's actually a place on top of the City of Styx for you to connect the dragon. And that's by clicking it onto that stud on the roof. And it creates like a little perch for the dragon, so that it makes it more menacing up on top of the City of Styx build. Now, there's one other tiny build for this set that there's not a lot to say about, but it is neat that they give it. This is a little speedboat for Zane, which I think is pretty funny because this is not canon to the show at all, but it makes sense that if they're in the City of Styx, which is on water, you'd need something to travel on the water with it. So this is a little boat for Zane. It's simple. 4 pieces make up this build, including a armored piece on top, which is pretty cool to get another one of. These do come in common other sets. I wish this had printing, but it's okay since it doesn't. It just is another little fun build. And as I mentioned before, this particular build fits inside of the back of this Destiny's Bounty build. So if you really don't like having it out, you can display it in the back of the bounty, and it fits in there very nicely. Additionally, there is also room for you to put one figure behind Zane as well on this boat, but it isn't necessarily worth trying to do it right now because it's a little bit finicky, and it's pretty packed when you put 2 people in the boat. But it's cool that you even get a side build that makes sense for the context of the set around it. Now let's move on to the minifigures for this set. This set contains a total of 4 minifigures, so we'll go through them one by one. But first, let me show you what you get here. You get Zane, you get Kai, you get Jay, and these are 3 of the 4 main ninjas. They could have thrown in Cole for the sake of it, but Cole was technically a ghost for most of this wave, so I understand them releasing that figure would be a pretty special thing for them to do, and I'm sure they didn't want to create more legacy molds than they had to. But I think it works just fine for what it has to. Additionally, you get a Ghost Warrior as well, which I did a Minifigure Thursdays video on if you'd like to learn more about that minifigure. Starting with Kai here. Kai, what to say about Kai? He's come in almost every single set in Legacy, and is by far way too common for his own good. And I just wish that they could have done a little bit different with it. Maybe given all their ninja their possession deep stone armor suits instead. I mean, they did for Zane, but that's not even included in this set. But it's okay that you get minifigures, and I'm glad they included him here. It's better to have more ninja than not. Second, we have Jay. Jay's in his Legacy suit as well, which I feel like is one of the better Legacy suits that they did. You can see here they got 2 golden sides here, and a dark blue and blue molded helmet, which is pretty cool. Not much to say on this figure, he's also pretty common. You also receive Legacy Zane, which is probably the biggest mixed bag, because the Legacy suits, though being inspired on Season 1, they still gave Zane his robot head, which is pretty funny. So this is just an overall cool figure, though. You do get the Shuriken's Vice in this as well. And finally, we have the Ghost Warrior, which is probably the coolest minifigure of the set. If you're looking to get cool minifigures, this is a good way to get it. All the other sets are more than $40 for getting this particular figure. You can see he comes with a pitchfork, and if you want to learn more about him, go watch our Minifigure Thursdays video about him, which will be plugged at the end of the video for you. Now, what are my overall thoughts on this particular beautiful set here? Now, if you can't tell already, I'm a big fan of 4+ sets, and I try to create a counter-argument because everyone seems to think 4+ sets are bad, but the reality is they're not so bad once you get used to them, and as long as you don't compare them with previous versions of the models themselves. So, this particular set, I'd give it about an 8 out of 10. The bounty itself is really cool. Doesn't really need much to change for it. The City of Styx build is awesome. It's pretty cool to get more pieces there to use for your own City of Styx builds. And it also features enough space for you to play with your other figures on it. The Dragon build, maybe it's not the best build out of everything, because the particular flimsiness of the wings isn't great, and the posability on the tail and the head are a bit too rigid for my liking. But it's also one of the only 4+ sets to use a non-standard dragon that looks different from all of the other 4+ dragons. So I appreciate them throwing this in here. I haven't seen another one other than the one that released in the Dragon's Rising set that I reviewed on the channel recently. So, it's good for what it needs to be. Now, something that brings down this set for me are the minifigures. Don't get me wrong, the Ghost Warrior is probably one of the coolest things that you could have asked for in a set like this, and I'm glad they include it. I also find it funny how they included 3 of the ninja, but not 4. But what brings this set down is that it includes one Legacy Kai, who didn't need to be here. They didn't need to throw it in there. But it also doesn't really feature Sensei Wu, or Lloyd, or any other characters like Nia, which are important to the wave of and season of sets this is supposed to be based on. So I wish they gave you a different selection of minifigures, but in the end, you can't change what minifigure selection they give you, and the builds themselves are alright. So definitely an 8 out of 10. They're no longer selling this set in stores, but if you're able to pick it up on the aftermarket, I would highly suggest you do so, especially since 4+ sets tend to go for a lot cheaper after they retire. They're not that expensive to pick up. And overall, if you're looking for a cool City of Styx build, or even a way to expand your Ninjago collection of the Ghost Army, this is a way to do it, and it's pretty easy to do. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Feel free to check out the Minifigure Thursdays review of the Ghost Warrior, which will be linked at the end of the video. And I hope you all have a great day.